One. Hey there, heavies. Welcome to another edition of Heavy's World. Today I'm going on a bit of a heavy rant in relation to some wrestling. So sit back, relax. Before we get started with the video today, I just want to give a shout out to One Fall Wrestling. These guys are UK based. It's another website, around articles, opinion pieces, polls, and whatever to do with wrestling. These are great guys. I have known them for years. I have done work with them previously. A couple of them did work with Heavy's World too. So they're just getting started in the last few weeks to a month. So if any of the wrestling heavies out there can go over, click the link which I'll put down here. Go check them out. Give them some love. They're all a bunch of great guys. They know their stuff when they're with wrestling and what they're talking about and the topics covered, and they're just genuine articles. They're not clickbait material. They are literally just writing up pieces about their passion for wrestling. So please check them out. Give them some love and tell them Hev sent ya. So, the topic of my rant today is AEW All Out. Not the show in general. It was a good show. AEW tend to put out some really good pay-per-views and whatnot. So I'm a fan of AEW. I'm a fan of WWE, TNA, NJPW, whoever. I'm MLW. I'm a fan of just wrestling. I'm not what I would call a tribalist or a gatekeeper for any one promotion or whatnot, or any era of wrestling. I've got my taste, I've got my likes or dislikes, whatnot. So, what I'm going to talk about today, it's not being discussed because of who was involved, it's what was involved. Now, what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to hone in on one area of All Out, and that is the ending of the main event. The lights out steel cage match between Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. Now, I am not a Hangman Page fan at all. I can't stand the guy one single bit. I think he's a tool. I don't like his shtick. He can't even hit his finisher, in my opinion, all that great. Someone like Logan Paul can. But again, this is not about my dislike for Hangman Page. If it was the other way around, the ending, I'd still be here discussing it. And what I'm discussing is unprotected headshots with chairs. This is 2024. This isn't 1998. We should not be seeing stuff like this in wrestling anymore. I appreciate that AEW are there to provide an alternative, because there was such a long time that WWE and their PG-13 format dominated wrestling, in the mainstream. So I understand they want to provide an alternative, and they really do kind of lean into that Attitude Era-esque type of booking with their matches in relation to high spots, character work, and whatnot. So I get it and I understand it to a certain point. We have had wrestlers' careers cut short because of unprotected blows to the head. Not just from steel chairs. Bret Hart's career ended because of an unprotected kick to the head from Goldberg. Christopher Nowinski's career ended really before it properly and fully took off. You never saw his full potential. And because of CTE and whatnot. And since then, he's dedicated his life to CTE and researching it and getting the awareness out there and whatever else. But we should not be seeing unprotected headshots from chairs on pay-per-views, TV, on the web, whatever. Now, I've seen a lot of people argue for and against it online, and as I said, I'm not an AEW basher. I love wrestling across the board. I have loved it for multiple decades. I've loved it since I was a child, and I still love it now, and I'm 45 years old. So it's a long bloody time to like something like that. But hey, it's who I am, and I'll continue to still like it. But the fact that we are still seeing, and I'm going to be honest here, crap like that is not on, really. Now, I've seen people online say, "Oh, the chair was gimmicked," or the welds or rivets were loosened, and that piece was probably plastic. But as I've just proven, you don't have to be hitting the head with metal to have it rattle you, smash your brains, scramble them, and end a career. Bret Hart wasn't hitting the head with a piece of metal; he was hitting the head with a rubber-soled boot attached to someone's foot and leg. And it was just a couple seconds that changed his career and his whole life. It's just, I watched the show and saw it, and I got a sick feeling in my stomach watching it. And then I went online and I watched fan taken footage from a phone up in the stands. It was a decent distance away from the ring, and the sound of that impact was still sickening. To be picked up that well by a video on the phone tells you how hard that chair was being swung, even with a gimmicked chair. Like, and this is probably going to go off on a tangent a little bit. I'm starting to wonder. No, I'm not starting to wonder. I'm actually seeing that CM Punk had a point in his opinions on the whole real glass versus gimmick glass and whatnot, and not needing to go to such lengths to put yourself over, to get a feud over, to put a match over and have it connect with fans. Like, I'm sure the fans in attendance were like, whoa, when that happened. I probably would have too if I was there live in attendance. I would have walked away going, man, that was a gnarly thing to watch. Not in a good way. I remember years ago, like 15 or more years ago, when I was a young bloke, when I used to go to the pub on the weekends, I used to go out nightclubbing with mates and whatnot. I remember walking, to a mate's house after going to a nightclub, and like 2 shop distances away from me, I saw someone get punched in the mouth and drop to the ground out cold. He was literally snoring when I got up to where he fell. But I still remember to this day the sickening thud his head made when he hit the concrete. And this morning, watching that fan footage and even watching the actual pay-per-view footage of it, I got that sick feeling in my stomach again. Like, why are we still seeing this? The one thing I'm glad in result of this is I've actually seen a lot of people, not just fans, say we don't need this shit in our wrestling. We don't need this crap. Legends like Ricky Morton have come out on X and said no more head chair shots. We shouldn't be seeing this. And while I don't always agree with Bully Ray, it seems like he's actually going to take people's opinions and thoughts into consideration for his podcast on this and actually give an in-depth analysis from him as his point of view about it, which I think would be great. The fact we have to talk about this is gnarly in itself, but if actual people from the industry, people who do this for a living, whether they're a legend, whether they wrestle anymore or not, doesn't matter, can actually put out there why this is a bad thing and why we should be taking note of it, then that's a positive. One thing it's showing me is that if I, I could sit here and talk about if I was in TK's shoes all day long. All of us can, but he should really have said no to that. I'm sure it was presented to him and they were going through ideas for the match and how to end it. And he could have said, you know what, that sounds like a really gnarly spot, but no, I'm not going to let you take an unprotected headshot. Doesn't matter if the chair's gimmicked or not. You know? And I get we look for, as fans, authenticity in wrestling. Like a few years ago when Jericho was thrown off the top of that blood and guts cage and landed on what was visibly seen as cardboard boxes underneath where he landed. There was an outrage. Oh, but so what? He was still thrown from the top of a cage that was, 20 foot in the air. You know? Doesn't matter what he landed on. That was obviously done for his safety. AEW, yeah, they probably could have changed the camera angle so he didn't get to see all that, but they had the right thing in mind there. They did well there, but then in other areas they haven't in relation to it, like letting Matt Hardy continue to wrestle after falling off that, what was it, a cherry picker or whatnot, and hitting the concrete. He was concussed, you could tell he was concussed, and they let him wrestle. I totally agree with his wife, Reby Sky, blasting AEW on social media because of that, because that was wrong. You shouldn't have kept going. They should have, bang, stop. No, sorry, match is over. Here's the result. It's done. It's the only thing, from what I've seen from the All Out main event ending, that was done properly, is that the ref said, no more, bang. Yep, that's probably how the match was scripted to end. But no attack afterwards and whatnot. Yeah. But when is wrestling, professional wrestling as a sector of entertainment, going to learn that stuff like that can't be around anymore with good reason? WWE don't do it and haven't done it in God knows how long. They learnt from their mistakes, obviously, and what they had seen over the years in relation to damage to the head. Do we really need another Chris Benoit tragedy to happen before companies across the board, promotions across the board, say, no more unprotected headshots? I'd like to just see no more headshots in wrestling. But if they're planned out like a film doing stunt work, if all the angles are looked at, everything is done in a way to protect, it's not unprotected, it's protected, maybe. But from what I've seen, the only way you're probably going to get anywhere with this is to actually outlaw them now, moving forward. That's my rant. You can agree with it if you want, disagree with it, that's cool. Discuss in comments here on social media and whatnot. But yeah, let's discuss it. Be mature about it. Put forward your agreements or disagreements with what I'm saying, and hopefully we never see that again. Because it was actually sickening to watch. It was disappointing that a promoter in this day and age actually greenlit that. Yeah, sure, do it. I'm not the biggest fan of TK, but he's a boss. You shouldn't be letting things like that happen. So please, discuss below on socials and whatnot, and I'll check you later, heavies.